Nice, huh? We all sometimes feel like that little guy, don't we? Like no matter what we do, it just doesn't seem to go quite according to plan. It's one of those things where you just go, man, what in the world is happening? And is everything okay? And am I truly going to be able to get this thing right? We need a little grace. We need someone to kind of step in, like the big guy there, and kind of show us which button to push. We feel like we're staring at this control panel of all these buttons in life that sometimes don't have labels. And we're just going, I don't know which one to push. I kind of felt like that whenever I was 15 and taking my driver's test, and you get that guy sitting there next to you with his little clipboard and you're like going, you're sweating bullets, going, dude, did I turn the blinker on right? All of a sudden, you're like, dude, don't do that, I mean, if you want to get into an accident, that's the quickest way to do it. Make me nervous, and we need a little grace. I feel like sometimes in life, we think that is the picture of God sometimes, that He is that instructor. He's that big alien with a clipboard and a pen just waiting for us to mess up because He's going to take note of that. He's going to write it down and He's going to remember it and He's not going to let us do something or He's going to punish us because of it or something bad might happen because we mess up. And yet here's the deal. I think that picture of God is completely wrong. I think if we have that picture of God being this guy up there with a lightning bolt waiting for us to mess up, we've missed who God truly is. We've missed the character of God. We've missed who God truly wants us to see Him as. See, here's the thing. We all need somebody to step in for us. We all need somebody who has a clue, who understands all of the buttons of life and knows which one to push right. And we all need somebody to step in. But a lot of times in life, we don't allow God to step in. We don't allow that person who has that knowledge and that wisdom to be able to step in and be there for us because of our pride or our arrogance or our misunderstandings. And yet that's exactly what God did. He stepped in. God steps into our lives every single day. God stepped into our life 2,000 years ago. He steps into our life today. It's the beauty of grace. The little guy had experienced that grace. I mean, the very end, he's all dejected. He's sitting there, he's crying, he's whimpering, he's sweating profusely. And they're getting ready to take off, and the big guy turns over and gives him the controls. That's grace. Hey, I know you can't handle getting the guy into the ship, and actually abducting the guy. But maybe you can handle flying. And that's what grace is. Grace is saying, you know what? You don't deserve a second chance. Grace is, you know what? You don't deserve, forgiveness. Grace is not something we deserve. It's something that we're given. I want us to unpack a little bit more of Romans chapter 12, beginning with verse number 3. And you have this in your outlines. But I want you to listen, and I want you to circle some things. And this is, again, Paul speaking. And he's talking about being transformed. Remember, we've been talking through this theme of what it means to be transformed, to be transformers for God. And he says, he talks about, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may know what God's will is. But listen to this. In verse 3, it says this: I'm speaking to you out of deep gratitude for all that God has given to me. I want you to underline that phrase, all that God has given to me. Paul's story is amazing. In Romans chapter 9, you have this picture of Paul on this road to Damascus going to persecute Christians, going to put them in jail, and some of them put them to death. And he has this encounter with God. God says, Paul, why are you persecuting me? And Paul asks this amazing question, who are you, Lord? Well, you just called him by name, and that is Lord, and that's who he is. Jesus blinds him, and he goes back, and he has this guy come and kind of tell him what it means to be a Christ follower, who God truly is, and Paul's eyes are open. He becomes a follower of God that day. Paul goes on to have several missionary journeys and to encourage the church and to start the church everywhere. But Paul understands what it means to be extended grace. For somebody who shouldn't have deserved that. Somebody who shouldn't have got it. And Paul says, man, I'm coming to you out of deep gratitude for all that God has given me. And especially as I have responsibilities in relation to you, living them as every one of you does, in pure grace. In pure grace. Not in diluted grace, not in a partial grace, but in pure grace. It's important that you not misinterpret yourselves as people who are bringing this goodness to God. Now, God brings it to you. See, the beautiful part of the story is this. God steps in. He steps into your life. He steps into my life when we need Him most. But sometimes when we don't think we want Him, He's right there with pure grace. And so you and I need to first get over ourselves. And I want you to circle that phrase. I want you to truly think about that phrase. Because a lot of times we don't allow God's grace in our lives. Because we think, you know what, I'm not good enough. Okay, and? Well, I haven't done everything that I need to do. I haven't gone through my checklist. I don't go to church enough. I don't love enough. I don't look good enough. I don't whatever enough to deserve God's love. You're right. You don't. You don't deserve God's love. Neither do I. But you know what? I grew up in the church all my life. I mean, I've done everything right. I've been this good little person. I don't deserve God's love, though. Well, maybe I do deserve God's love because I have done everything right. You know, I've gone to church all my life. I mean, why wouldn't God love me? See the two different ends of the spectrum there? We need to get over ourselves. Get over our pride of, wow, God, I'm so lucky to have you on your team. Because I've lived the good little Christian life all my life. I've done everything right. I've done it by the book. God, I have been the example of a Christian. I deserve your love. I deserve your grace. This Proverbs tells us that pride comes before a fall. Guys, I stand here as one who can testify to that verse. I fell the hardest of my life 3 years ago. I was spiraling down this thing called pride. God, aren't you glad to have me on your team? God said, I am glad, but not for the reasons you think. I'm glad just because you're my son. And God said, you know what, Ryan, it's time for you to get over yourself. My wife has that phrase, and she's had it for a long time, get over yourself. She told that to Hannah this week. I was on the phone with Jen on my way home from work, and she said, Hannah, get over yourself. I said, baby, she's 5. I'm not sure she understands the whole get over yourself principle. She goes, but she understands that it's time to get over the attitude. Yes, you're right. You know what, guys? It's time for us to get over ourselves. To get over the pride of, wow, God, you're lucky to have me. And to get over the self-loathing and the guilt and the shame of, I just don't deserve it. I'm not good enough. rest in God's arms.